Honorable sisters, brothers, and friends. This is on a God's Day Sunday. I have produced a video that I call the weekly summary. Maybe I should now say it's kind of the state of the world, and have at least one a year or something like that. But time being of the essence, and the sheer drop in recognizing the well, you'd have to say international law. They say war crimes. It goes to then this Zionists who have the power in Israel, because not all Jews want to practice genocide. Of all people to practice genocide would be Jewish people, but the Zionist Jews have been for decades, and especially now, murderous genocide, thus Arabs, and they come out during these decades and say, well, the Arabs are subhuman-like. They used a clever analogy. Well, that's how the U.S. became the United States, is they took over the tribal lands and went from East Coast to the Midwest all the way to the West Coast. And that's what they're doing. They're expanding from the Mediterranean, and there's much expansion. And they're doing what the Americans did to the Indians. Well, that's a clever sort of way of putting forth a falsehood, and that is, of course, you have the great civilizations before Christ, like what they completed, and the pyramids and other great achievements. And then you have their libraries. You have, I don't take and research and have it ready and written down, and I do try to do it realistically, without notes, where I think the decimal system was put forward by the people that are now considered by the Zionists as subhuman, and that's what our computers use, which is ultra modern, and so that was really a insult to those civilizations and to those people today. But why let truth and honesty and say the laws of God or humanity? If you don't believe in God, the laws of humanity, international law, human rights, it can be solved by just one phone call by one or more powerful leaders. They say, look, you stop that right now, or we will put sanctions against you, that you get blockaded and you don't get where you can have these weapons of mass destruction, even, that you refuse to sign because you say you can use them anytime. That's your decision. Well, other countries have all signed saying, no, we have to not have this earth and humanity destroyed or ruined because of these weapons of mass destruction. That's only human common sense and reality. So this, the part that, you know, I don't want to sound braggadocio, but as I think about it now, the challenge is so ridiculous and so repetitive, nonsensical. You know what? That same lies and where a leader, especially on a personal basis, says he claims to be why world's greatest. Look at me. Everybody in the world knows of me and is talking about me. And, well, that's that one of an egocentric maniac. And you have this, well, I'm forced to call Netanyahu, who's the leader of the Zionist genocide practice against Arabs. You know, I actually am in the same position when I was what they say the right hand man of that J. Edgar Hoover. The fellow was so dishonest, such an evil fellow that just it is just a sheer drop, and just about any discipline or it was practically impossible for me to try to lower myself to get to where that evil fella was, and now this evil Netanyahu is. So I found that I would yawn. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous that the other countries allow this fella, that they don't say you're out of the UN. Just kick them out of the UN and say, if you want to come into the UN, the first thing you got to do is sign that you will not use weapons of mass destruction. You will not practice genocide just to belong to the UN. And if not, put real tough sanctions against them to stop their genocide. Just take one phone call, especially from, say, the leader of the U.S., who, you go back and look it over, that if they didn't do what the shadow government power, the secretive shadow government power wanted, they were taken out. Kennedy didn't shoot himself, and Robert Kennedy would have became president for sure, and he was murdered. And then you had the great leader Martin Luther King. He was a leader in trying to obtain social justice. And then there was a Governor George Wallace then said, look, yeah, there should be equal rights. And he looked like he was the front runner. And as soon as he said, well, I'm going to replace this J. Edgar Hoover, within 4 days, they gave him a dinner and then they shot him in the stomach. And usually you can't operate on somebody when they have food in their system. It's dangerous. And he didn't die, but he was a cripple. That knocked him out of the race. And then there was this Purvis. Purvis was a great FBI man, and they say, you know what, it'd be better if Purvis was director than that questionable Hoover, because they questioned him on morality and started to know about him then. And what did Hoover do? He got him out of the FBI, got him out of the FBI, and then he was found shot to death. And Hoover ruled, well, he shot himself. And of course, you'd have to call the FBI to get them to investigate themselves. Is the way Hoover would do it. Now this Netanyahu wants those to placate to this fella, this fiendish genocidal maniac, to stop this war crimes and genocide. You don't have to ask for any quarter. You don't have to ask anything. You just tell them, you So you stop it right now, or else you're out of the UN, and we'll have real strong sanctions against you. You criminally insane Yahoo murdering jerk. That you got egotistical way you're going to be on the front pages and the what? You're a disgrace to even your own people, I think, and I have proof of many of their own people who say the fellow is a Yahoo and an exaggerator, an egotistical jerk, to put it mildly, from your own people. Now, if the Zionists would kill women and children in a synagogue so that they didn't have to sign the peace treaty the next day, and then those who ordered that, absolutely proven by a Zionist operative who was a young man and was there, and he says, I just couldn't kill the women and children in a synagogue. And when he didn't, the others looked at him and says, hey. So he said he was concerned they were going to kill him so that he couldn't talk. And then he ran to Canada, and they chased him. They tried to kill him, and he got into the U.S., and I saw him on TV twice. And it's on TV. It's got to have records of it. That's what they did. They purposely killed women and children in a synagogue at prayer the night before, so that the next day he said, look what they did. Look what these Arabs. They were dressed as Arabs. And I had Zionists and U.S. operatives try to run me into a smash the day before 7/11. Yeah. And then when I barely swerved and around being run into this smash, then they were talking. Then it's Hebrew or Yiddish and it's in English, and it was obvious they were dressed as Arabs. And then the next day there was a smash at a plane, and there were Jewish people, I think Zionists, with a van. And they were standing around, and they had ready, and they were jumping up and down in glee and yelling and taking the pictures of the plane smashing into that building. You understand? That they then had their Pearl Harbor against the Arab. Look what they've done. They say, it's the Christian and Jews against the Arabs. How clever. No, the real Zionists consider anybody that's not of their Zionist clique is not as good as they are. And that includes everybody except those in their Zionist clique. So it's really, they consider it the Jews and the suckers, while the Arabs accept Christ as a prophet and accept his mother. And they were there for years, and people lived there in reasonable peace. The Arabs were fighting more among themselves than they were with the Jewish who were living there, small little groups, right? Before the Zionists took over, and now there's constant. Well, these are the true facts. And if you look at this planet, say from out in space, and you look at it, I say, why the world's greatest in the discipline of theology. They don't want to discuss theology. Well, in the discipline of mathematical physics, you say Einstein is, I just refer to him as the god of science even. Well, I have proof. I'm one of the leaders of absolute proof. Einstein is the world's greatest plagiarist. Everything he ever put forward was done before by someone else. And I conferred with him in person. And he agreed with me about, I put it politely, modernizing the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equation. Yet who knows this? I have all kinds of leaders stand up and say, oh, this man that's became great notoriety all over the world, oh, he's come to my country. Oh, yeah, they're in front of the cameras, and, oh, come to my country, I'll treat him fairly. You have a man that has been trying to get to your country, pay his own way there, now don't have that much money, but he can still pay his own way there, saying, and gone to your country, and what you do is agents from King George, Queen Hoover hypocrisy, and so, or come in, walk in, and either pay you off, and first thing you know, you won't even talk to them. And yet you're saying, oh, you come to my country. So there's an expression, it's a Barnum and Bailey world, just as phony as it could be, is their expression. You have done where if you're really a leader towards peace and prosperity, you stop that genocidal Netanyahu now. And of course, I say God bless us, and maybe God will bless you. Thank you.